Today on the Big Dog Holler Barbecue channel, we're making some corn cob smoked ribs. So stay tuned and find out how we did it. Welcome to the Holler, everybody. To get these corn smoked ribs started here, what we have is a roughly 4-pound rack of St. Louis style spare ribs that we picked up from our local Walmart. Prairie Fresh brand, always a great brand to work with there. If you look to my right, Marty brought us just a couple simple ingredients, starting with Fiesta brand black pepper, 16 mesh, as well as some Hogs and Heat basic barbecue rub there. We're going to go ahead and get these ribs out of the package, dry them off, and we'll be right back. So we have our ribs out of the package here and pat dry with a paper towel. As you can see, there's a couple fatty spots that will work to take off there. A little bit there as well, but not too bad. Don't have to worry a ton on ribs like these. There's a little bit of loose hanging meat on this back corner. Going to go ahead and take that off. The main thing with these, there is a pretty large flap on the end. There's no bones in that entire section there until we get roughly there. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take off that last bone, and we're still going to throw this on the smoker since it's still quality meat. Let's get all that down there, and that'll help really balance things out. As you can see, that is a much more even rack from there. What we're going to do, we're going to square off these edges, maybe trim a little bit of that fat off on this side, and we'll be right back. So now that we have that all taken care of, I believe in the last scene I did say square up the edges. You actually want to make sure they're a little bit more round. Aerodynamic is always the best, but this top meat side is done here. Let's take a look at the back side. So we have the membrane still on these. We're going to work on that in just a second. We're also going to remove this flap of meat on the back here. Just grab an edge and start trimming away. And again, this is something you can also throw on the smoker. I believe here today we're going to do that. Just season up the same as you would with the rest of the ribs. There's just not any bones in that portion there. You could throw it in some baked beans or just eat it as it is once you've smoked it up. Remove some of this fat. And then we're going to work on that membrane. So now that our backside is nice and trimmed up, and we also went ahead and took that membrane off camera. That can always be a little bit tricky. Be sure to use a paper towel with something like that to make things a little bit easier to grab. We're going to come in with our Fiesta pepper and just get a nice even layer on this backside. We're going to do the meat side second, since that's our presentation side and that side's going up on the smoker. So just pat that in, get a little bit more on that corner. You certainly don't have to use pepper at this step, but it's going to help with bark formation, and I always like a little extra pepper. And we're going to come in with our Hogs and Heat barbecue rub here. A little sweet, a little savory. Nice rub from a team over in Illinois, not too far from home here. Get a nice layer on that backside. That's really going to bring out a lot of nice color. And then we're going to get these flipped over. Now we're back on our meat side. Get this pepper nice and even on the meat side. This idea for these corn smoked ribs we first saw on Cowboy Kent Rollins' page, so be sure to check out that video, and thank you very much for the inspiration, Kent. Come in with our Hogs and Heat rub, nice and even here, and off camera we'll be sure to get the sides. Don't ever forget the sides of your meat, and we'll get that seasoned up. So we're going to let these ribs rest roughly 15 to 30 minutes to really let that seasoning adhere and bring out a lot of that moisture from the ribs. And then we'll meet you out at the Weber Smokey Mountain, currently cranking it up to 250 degrees. We'll show you the setup here in just a second, but we'll see you out there. So we're out here at the Weber Smokey Mountain. Our setup today, we're using some Kingsford Match Light to get things lit, as well as some Tractor Supply Co. lump charcoal. If you come over here and look at the Weber Smokey Mountain, have a nice bed of the lump with a nice pit in the middle for the what's it called? The Kingsford Match Light. There we go. So, gonna take our torch here and get things lit up. Now that our match light is nice and lit, while it gets a little bit of oxygen going to take off, we have 4 corn cobs here that have been dried out for the most part, and we're going to line the perimeter with them, kind of like we would with some pieces of wood. Get that down in there, and we're going to use this as our flavor source, and we're going to see how that turns out without using any wood besides the charcoal. So once this gets to temp, roughly 250, we'll meet you back out here, put the ribs on. So we're out here at the Weber Smokey Mountain. As you can see on the gauge, just under 250 degrees. If that creeps up a little bit more, that's not a problem. The gauge usually runs a bit high. So we're gonna go ahead and get these ribs on, get that placed down there, and get these right in the middle. It is a large rack of ribs, but we're going to let this go roughly an hour and a half, come back out, see if it needs to be spritzed with any apple juice, but we'll see you then. So after an hour and a half, let's take a look at our ribs here. As you can see, getting some good color from the smoke. But looking a little touch dry. So we have our Oklahoma Joe's spray bottles filled with some Indian Summer apple juice. Get a nice misting over the top here. Add a little bit to our flap as well. And just keep rocking and rolling from here. So after another hour on the smoker, let's take a look here. Been spritzing with some apple juice. Have some good wiggle going on there. So we're going to go ahead and finish with the meat side down, give this backside a little bit of a break, get this spritzed with some apple juice as well. As you can see, the bones are starting to pop through. I'd say we're within 15 to 30 minutes, so we'll see you then. So after 45 minutes, we're back out here at the Weber. Let's take a look. As you can see, we have the meat side back up, but we have a great mahogany bark on top. Partially from the smoke, partially from the apple juice, but we're going to go ahead and get these pulled off. As you can see, tender without breaking, so we'll see you inside. So after a 10-minute rest inside here on our cutting board, it is time to start getting sliced in. As you can see, beautiful mahogany color on the outside from that bark, and again, it's bendy, but it's not snapping, so right where you want it. When it comes to cutting ribs, you can take a look at where they're angled. These ones have a little bit of a diagonal angle, so we're going to grab our knife, set this up on its end, and get a nice slice from the inside here. Get that cut off, get this rib, and take a look if there's any sort of a smoke ring. And there is a good red smoke ring. Plenty of juice left inside that rib. And we tried the rib flap off camera here. There is a nice sweetness to it, not much smoke, which is to be expected. So if you're not a huge fan of a really smoky rib, maybe you want to start using some corn cobs. Certainly not a bad option. I don't inherently miss a lot of smoke, but as you can see, just a nice juicy rib. Great smoke ring, pretty much exactly how you want it. But there you have it, corn cob smoked ribs, Big Dog Holler style. Whoever eats the most gets the most, so dig in.